A year ago, Greg Hands swept a victory in Chelsea and Fulham with a 17,000 vote majority. Well, 12 months into his second term as an MP, I'm joined by Mr Hands to discuss the issues he campaigned on then and the situation now. Greg, many thanks for joining us.
Ben, it's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to talking about Chelsea and Fulham.
And now, clearly, you ran a hugely successful campaign. Talk me through the main issues in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting campaign because I'd won the Hammersmith and Fulham seat in 2005. So first of all, I was dealing with a new constituency of Chelsea and Fulham, although the Fulham bit stayed the same, but I'd lost Hammersmith and gained Chelsea. A slightly different electoral dynamic. Hammersmith and Fulham was a key marginal. Chelsea and Fulham is more normally regarded as being a Conservative seat. So that changed the dynamic. I think the key issues for me were the state of public transport in the constituency, Heathrow Airport and air noise, night flights, the local hospitals in terms of the Chelsea and Westminster, the Royal Brompton and others. Quite a lot, a very, very busy constituency with a lot of important public facilities.
To pick up on Heathrow, clearly the opposition to Heathrow expansion and a third runway was enormously important to the Conservative manifesto. But with the agreement on night flights due to expire later this year, what are you going to be doing going forward to protect your constituents from excessive noise from aircraft?
Well, I think night flights are unnecessary over London. As I understand it, I think it's 14 or 16 flights a night are allowed over. And when I met with British Airways to talk about this about 5 years ago, those night flights are really there for the convenience of passengers coming from Singapore and Hong Kong, who otherwise have to board the plane in the middle of the night. Now, okay, that is an inconvenience. But weighing that against the inconvenience of millions of people under the flight path living in London, being woken up at night, typically 4:30 in the morning, I think is something we want to stop. I don't think we need these night flights, and I think we have to bear in mind the quality of life of Londoners should come first in this.
And do you think a reduction in the number of night flights is a realistic expectation?
I'm very hopeful that we're going to get it down to zero. I'm meeting with Theresa Villiers, the aviation minister, in the coming weeks, and we're putting the case to her very strongly that I think that we don't need these night flights and we can do without them.
Staying on the issue of transport, you recently met with Mike Brown, Managing Director of Transport for London. What exactly did you discuss and what improvements can constituents expect to see over the next year or so?
Yeah, well, I've had 2 meetings with him recently, and they've mainly been focusing on improvements to the Wimbledon District Line, which Transport for London will tell you over recent years has been the busiest line on the tube in terms of the closeness it is to being full capacity. Very overcrowded, and I've been talking to them and have been for some years now about improving the amount of capacity on the Wimbledon District Line that comes through Fulham and then to Earl's Court onto Sloane Square through the constituency. And thankfully they've decided to put on additional trains at rush hour times, which I think will ease the situation somewhat. I think it will still be quite crowded, but I think will definitely be an improvement.